How's it going, everyone? InnovativeJdawg here, and welcome back to yet another video. Today, we're finally bringing back Dragon Ball What Ifs, and I have a very special story to tell with this one, because I feel like it actually happened off screen. As we all know, Dragon Ball Super's reimagining of Broly painted him as a much more tragic character in comparison to the monstrous, Kakarot-screaming version that we saw in Dragon Ball Z, and in recent material, this version of Broly has actually become both a friend and ally to Goku. But how did their relationship grow? How did Broly end up training with Goku and Vegeta on Beerus' planet? Well, today's story is going to fill in those gaps between Dragon Ball Super Broly and its sequel, Dragon Ball Super Superhero. Recently, the prequel story to Superhero started in the Dragon Ball Super manga, so I figured now would be the perfect time to toss in my own prequel imagining of Broly's story and where it could take him moving forward. So before we get started, if you guys enjoy all things Dragon Ball related, subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. Let's start with a pretty small goal of 500 likes, and then if we can get more, that would be great because it lets me know that you guys want more what if videos like this. Make sure to share this video with your friends, and if you have any suggestions for future what if videos, let me know down in the comments, but for now, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Our story begins all the way back in DBS Broly when both he and his father Paragus get recruited by Frieza and taken to Earth as part of a mission to steal the Dragon Balls. The only thing standing between Frieza and his wish of growing taller were Goku and Vegeta, who Broly was forced to attack. Long story short, Broly proved to be too powerful for both Goku and Vegeta on their own, forcing them to fuse into Gogeta to keep the battle going. Toward the end of their fight, Chilai and Lemmo, two members of the Frieza Force that befriended Broly throughout the movie, made a wish with the stolen Dragon Balls to send Broly back to the safety of planet Vampa, the place that he was exiled to soon after his birth. A few days after the battle on Earth, Chilai and Lemmo traveled back to planet Vampa and began living with their friend in hiding, knowing that they were all fugitives of the Frieza Force for betraying their organization and stealing the wish from the Dragon Balls for themselves. Without any invitation, Goku uses instant transmission to arrive on planet Vampa after tracking down Broly's massive energy, shocking the trio and coming face to face with Broly for the first time since their big fight. Goku shows the trio his kindness by offering them an assortment of survival items contained in capsules ranging from a lifetime supply of food, shelter, and even a few senzu beans. Broly and his friends question why Goku is being so nice to them, especially after all that happened over on Earth, but Goku says that he thinks Broly is a really amazing guy who helped remind him that there's still room to grow and get stronger, even after discovering new techniques like Ultra Instinct. He even says that Broly is so powerful that he might even be stronger than Beerus, the god of destruction of their universe, and the fact that Broly is a Saiyan just like him, that just makes it even more incredible, so he doesn't want a guy that strong to just shrivel away and die on a planet like Vampa. But even with all this kindness, Chilai makes it clear that they're not going to be so quick to befriend Goku, but that's completely fine with him, because all he wants is to train Broly and come back from time to time to teach him things. Before he leaves, the trio asks Goku his name, and Goku tells them what it is, but he makes sure to tell Broly that he can call him Kakarot, a sign of respect, and one that shows Goku has fully accepted his Saiyan heritage by this point in time. And with that, that's where our story officially takes a turn. Whether you want this story to take place soon after Goku's first visit to Vampa, or after both the Moro and Granola arcs in the manga, it doesn't really matter too much, just as long as this story takes place before the events of Superhero. Following Goku's first visit to Vampa, Broly, Chilai, and Lemmo have all been living peacefully with no outside interference from the Frieza Force. It looks like their plan of hiding away on such a repugnant planet paid off, but it hasn't exactly been the most glamorous lifestyle. Thankfully though, through the capsules created by Bulma, they haven't had to worry about running out of drinkable water or delicious food, so they've had more time to bond as friends and worry about their daily lives. For Lemmo, his skills of working as a cook for the Frieza Force paid off, with him typically being the one preparing those meals for Broly and Chilai, but unfortunately, he's also the one who typically cleans up after them. From time to time, Chilai does chip in to help with the dishes, but she's mostly the one taking care of the other two and maintaining things around the cave, keeping things tidy and clean. Plus, she's usually the one who can help calm Broly down if there's anything that makes him angry or anxious, but it doesn't happen all too often. In my eyes, I think it would make a lot of sense if there was a subtle love interest between both Broly and Chilai, because it was hinted at throughout DBS Broly, but never really expanded upon since we haven't seen them that often. It's one of those simple love stories where Chilai sees the softer side of Broly, and on the flip side, Broly sees Chilai as the one person he wants to protect because she makes him happy and is one of the only people to not see him as a weapon for fighting. I know it's a popular ship throughout the fandom, and it's for a good reason, because there's a lot of chemistry between the two of them, and it only makes sense that they'd like each other, or at least have a strong connection after spending all that time together on Vampa. Plus, their relationship is actually something that could kick off this story. Even though they have all the supplies they need, Broly and his friends can't just stay cooped up in that cave all the time. Sometimes, they need to get out and about for some fresh air, maybe take a walk, avoid dying by one of the Vampa beasts or Vampa beetles, stuff like that. So what if one day, Cheelai was out gathering some quick supplies to bring back to the cave, and something unordinary happened, something like a spaceship dropping down from the sky and landing in front of her. Recognizing the style of ship, Cheelai immediately realizes that she's in danger because it belongs to none other than the Frieza Force, and depending on where you put this in the timeline, it could either be a generic Frieza soldier who steps out, or, if you want it to take place after the Granola arc, which is where I'm putting this scenario, it could be Maki and Oil, who were recently recruited by Frieza. Immediately, Cheelai realizes that these people are from the Frieza Force and that after all this time of living freely, it was all for nothing because Frieza had finally found them. He knew where they were hiding and had come to eliminate them. It takes a second for Maki and Oil to realize who Cheelai is because to them, they've never seen her before. They weren't part of the Frieza Force when Cheelai and Lemo became fugitives. The two former members of the Heaters gang were just stopping on Vampa as a quick pit stop before returning to Frieza, but seeing how nervous Cheelai is, they quickly put the pieces together and realize that she's one of those fugitives that the Frieza Force is looking for. Thinking they could make a fortune by bringing her to Frieza alive, the two attempt to attack Cheelai, who flees from the two of them, calling out to Broly. Unfortunately, Cheelai isn't able to fight the two Heaters off, especially since the two of them know how to use Ki and she doesn't. But that doesn't stop her from blasting them with one of her blasters in an attempt to keep them at bay. The two of them are just about to snatch her up when miraculously, a shadowy figure lands on the ground behind them with a loud thud, causing the two to turn around and stare at the man in shock. It's Broly, and they instantly recognize that he's a Saiyan. Maki, sick of dealing with all these different Saiyans lately, begins throwing her Ki claw blades at Broly, but much to her surprise, they don't do any damage to him. Rather than piercing through his skin, they simply break apart like glass shards and fade away into the air. Broly puts his hand on Maki's shoulder and tosses her to the side with such force that she's sent careening into a nearby rock, smashing it into tiny pebbles. Oil grits his teeth and reels back to punch Broly, but when he attempts to strike, Broly is able to easily sidestep the punch and dodge all of Oil's incoming punches and kicks. Broly eventually gets fed up with dodging and lets out a massive shout. A green aura erupts from his body and smacks into Oil, sending him tumbling backwards into another pillar of rocks next to Maki. The two Heaters are stunned as they watch the fierce green aura swirl around Broly, his face full of rage as he stares the two of them down. Cheelai quickly runs up to Broly and tries to calm him down as the two Heaters slowly get up and sneak away to their ship. At first, it doesn't look like Cheelai's methods of calming Broly down are going to work because it's been such a long time since he last got angry, but thankfully, Broly eventually closes his eyes and takes a deep breath. The green aura quickly disappears around him, and he looks down at his friend, who smiles up at him. The two of them notice that Maki and Oil have already gotten away and they're already back in their ship, floating up in the sky. Lifting his hand up, Broly attempts to shoot the ship down with a Ki blast, but it narrowly misses as the ship darts off into the sky. Before he even has time to put his hand back down to his side, Broly notices a small figure appear in the sky next to his Ki blast, and then he notices that the figure smacks the Ki blast back down towards a nearby mountain. Broly and Cheelai look up in curiosity and in fear, wondering if it's Frieza who finally managed to track them down. But as the figure slowly approaches the two, it turns out that it's just Goku who arrived using instant transmission. Asking if everybody's alright, Goku says that he tried to get here as quick as he could because he could sense a sudden spike in Broly's energy. Cheelai quickly tells Goku about how Maki and Oil tried attacking her, and now they're going to tell Frieza where Broly is and they're all doomed. Goku says that the two of them and Lemo might need to pack things up and find somewhere new to live because Frieza has gotten much more powerful than before, and this time, he might not be able to be stopped. Confused, Cheelai just asks Goku if he and the other Saiyan could fuse again to fight Frieza just like what they did when they fought Broly, but Goku doesn't really know how to answer. Normally, Frieza wouldn't be much of an issue, he says, but now, he's discovered a new transformation, and he was able to defeat both he and Vegeta in a single blow, so he's not even sure if fusion would help them out. And with that in mind, Cheelai and Broly are left speechless, and for the first time in a long while, they realize just how inevitable it was that they were going to be found, and now Frieza could be here within hours. The two stand in silence before Goku smacks his fist into his hand, catching both of their attentions. He looks at Broly and asks if he's been keeping up on his training since the last time he stopped by, which Broly quickly nods to. Goku smirks, believing that hope isn't lost after all. If Frieza can't be beaten by Ultra Instinct, Ultra Ego, or maybe even Fusion, perhaps it's possible for Broly to tap into a new realm of power and finally defeat Frieza once and for all. After all, an untrained Broly who had little experience with fighting outside of training with his father and playing with Vampa beasts was able to keep up with a fused Super Saiyan Blue veteran, so if he could train himself a bit more, Broly would absolutely have a chance at defeating Frieza in his new black transformation. A smile quickly forms over Goku's face as he then asks Broly if he'd want to do a quick sparring match just to see how strong he's gotten since their last battle. Chilai looks up at Broly, seeing him smile and nod. As Broly motions for Chilai to run off, the only thing that can cross her mind is how these two could possibly think about fighting at a time like this. Regardless, she runs off to a safe distance and watches as the two Saiyans get down into their battle stance, both of them staying in their base form. Mimicking their first battle on Earth, Goku begins jumping up and down to loosen his muscles, and he notices that Broly mirrors his movements in an attempt to strike his own unique battle stance. Goku then bends down into his iconic stance and locks eyes with Broly, who clenches his fists and rushes forward to strike Goku without wasting any time. Launching a punch towards Goku's face, the smaller Saiyan shifts his head to the right and lets the punch glide past his cheek. Goku then swiftly spins around and kicks Broly in the hip, which forces the bigger Saiyan to do a sidestep to regain his balance. Goku leans back as Broly attempts to swipe another punch at him, which forces him to do a few backflips to gain some distance. As Broly continues to charge at Goku with heavy footsteps and rapid punches, Goku begins to analyze Broly's style of fighting and how quick he is to strike his opponent with aggression. He notices that Broly has become much more familiar with fighting styles through the way that he attacks, no doubt thanks to some personal training that he's done since their last battle, but he's still very rusty with the way that he moves and the way that he approaches battle. As Goku continues to dodge Broly's relentless attacks, he realizes that Broly's tactic for fighting is to keep persisting so that the opponent has very little room to act. Rather than striking up a balance between offense and defense, Broly has barely given Goku any room to attack, only allowing him to dodge, and he knows that sooner or later, Broly will get tired from moving so much. Putting his fingers up to his forehead, Goku instantly teleports away as Broly's fist punches straight through where his face once was and smashes into a nearby rock pillar. Looking around, Broly eventually spots Goku in the sky, charging a blue beam of light in his hands, the Kamehameha. While charging the attack, Goku watches as Broly quickly rushes into the sky towards him without thought or hesitation. Shouting down to Broly, Goku says that he needs to change the way that he approaches an opponent because if he keeps rushing, he's leaving himself open for the opponent to counterattack. And with that, Goku's body vanishes away yet again right as Broly reaches him. Sensing Goku's energy behind him, Broly whips around to see Goku thrust his hands forward, releasing that beam of blue energy. Broly is engulfed by the Kamehameha and sent hurling down toward the ground, landing with a loud thud and several parts of the ground cracking underneath him. Goku drops to the ground behind Broly as the bigger Saiyan attempts to lift himself up, several scratches are scattered throughout his body, and parts of his outfit are torn up from the beam. Watching from a distance, Chilai notices a faint shimmer of green energy spark around Broly's body, but it vanishes just as quick as it arrived. Thinking it was just her eyes playing tricks on her, she decides to continue watching the battle from afar, hoping that Goku knows what he's getting himself into. Goku begins lecturing Broly that he needs to maintain a proper balance between offense and defense when fighting an opponent. He can't focus too much on attacking the opponent because it will tire him out faster and leave him open for attacks, but at the same time, he can't be too defensive or else he'll end up just being a punching bag for the opponent to keep beating on. As Goku continues talking, Broly closes his eyes and takes a deep breath before vanishing out of sight. Goku's eyes widen, and he's cut off mid-sentence as Broly appears behind him, kicking him into a nearby boulder. Broly smirks as he watches the rubble fall around Goku and the dust settle, but that smirk quickly disappears when he sees the rocks start to glow. Within an instant, the rocks start exploding out from around Goku, several of them launching toward Broly, blocking his vision. Now transformed into a Super Saiyan, Goku uses the rocks to his advantage to rush toward Broly, who has very little time to react. Goku throws a punch toward Broly's stomach, but miraculously, the bigger Saiyan blocks Goku's punch with both of his hands. Surprised at his quick reaction, Goku compliments Broly on his quick movement and attempts to sweep Broly's legs, but it turns out that the bigger Saiyan is more concentrated now and is able to keep up with all of Goku's attacks. The two of them rapidly exchange punches and kicks as the ground around them cracks and erupts. Sound waves break through the air around them, and tiny rocks begin to explode as the two of them match each other's attacks blow for blow. Cheelai watches the fight in awe and is enthralled in the way that the two Saiyans move to the point that she even forgets to blink. Watching the fight continue, she watches as the two Saiyans slowly rise into the air, their fast movements eventually blip into nothingness as the two of them completely disappear without a trace, not a single figure in the sky. Looking around frantically, Cheelai tries finding the two of them, but her attention eventually shifts to somebody else as a figure rapidly appears in front of her, causing her to shriek in surprise and take a step back. In front of her, another Saiyan appeared, one with spiky black hair and white armor with gold plating. It's Vegeta, who after training on planet Yardrat during the Moro arc, managed to use his own instant transmission technique to track Goku down to planet Vampa. Caught off guard by Vegeta's sudden arrival, Cheelai instantly recognizes him as the other Saiyan who fought Broly on Earth alongside Goku, but she's never been so close to him before since this is their first face-to-face meeting. Ignoring her question, Vegeta looks around and scoffs at the disgusting terrain of planet Vampa. Before now, he'd never seen the planet in person, and after this, he's not sure if he'd ever want to come back. Vegeta then gets a tap on the shoulder and turns to see Cheelai, who asks where Goku and Broly have gone since they were in front of her for 1 second and then gone the next. Vegeta says that she can't see them because they're moving way too fast for her to keep up with, and they're fighting in the sky above them at this very moment, moving at such a rapid pace that it's impossible for her to see them unless if they slowed things down. Before Cheelai could even open her mouth to form a response, Goku's body rapidly appeared in front of them, flying toward them with such speed that Vegeta had to pick Cheelai up and jump out of the way. Goku's body slammed into the ground where their feet once stood, and after sliding along the ground, forming a huge crater behind him, Goku looks up at Vegeta, noticing that he's taken a break from training on Beerus' planet. Chuckling through the pain, Goku teases Vegeta by saying that instant transmission really is a handy trick, and Vegeta scoffs, looking up at the sky towards Broly, who is staring back at him. Cheelai then notices that there's another shimmer of green energy swirling around Broly's body, signaling to her that he's starting to lose himself in the moment. Vegeta notes that Broly is still in his base form, yet he's managed to push Goku into transforming, which must feel pretty embarrassing. Goku, getting to his feet, says that Broly has gotten much stronger since their last fight, but he's still got a lot to learn about fighting itself. With Vegeta now here, maybe the two of them can take turns facing off against Broly. But before the two could talk any further, Cheelai cuts them off, telling them to look at the green key swirling around Broly's body. She tells them that she's only seen it happen a few times, but whenever it shows up, he starts to lose himself and get angry. If the fight keeps going on for so long, she's not sure if she could calm him down before he loses himself completely. A confused Goku then scratches his head, wondering if he did anything to make Broly upset. He thought the two of them were getting along well, but maybe he was being a bit harsh with his lecturing, and maybe he just wasn't cut out for teaching. Vegeta shuts Goku down by saying that it's not him in particular making Broly angry, it's just like what happened when they fought Broly back on Earth. He's losing himself in the act of fighting. It's not just because he's getting angry or rageful or even excited. He's feeling all of those emotions at once, and he doesn't know how to control them or balance them. Cheelai then says that maybe they should just call it a day and say that their fight ended in a draw, but she gets cut off by Broly, who begins screaming in the air above them. She, Goku, and Vegeta all look up at Broly, noticing that that green aura has fully taken over his body, but not only that, his muscles are visibly starting to grow. Vegeta grits his teeth, realizing that this exact same thing happened back on Earth, and it's too late for them to call this fight a draw. Goku then shouts for Cheelai to run away to safety, which she quickly obliges, and above the three of them, Broly watches Cheelai run off with such speed, and it's almost as if he's somewhat in control of his actions, because after she's out of sight, his eyes lock back on Goku and Vegeta, primarily on Goku, who lets out a nervous laugh. Vegeta chuckles and asks if Goku's getting cold feet, because if he wants to tag out, he feels like he can end this fight much faster, but Goku declines the offer, saying that he's just barely getting started. Instantly, Goku's body flashes white, and his hair grows to an absurd length with such speed that even Broly raises an eyebrow. He's seen yellow hair, red hair, blue hair, but he's never seen long yellow hair. That's right, Goku transformed into a Super Saiyan 3, much to everybody's surprise, and Vegeta says that it shouldn't take long for him to tag in anyways because Goku will soon run out of energy when using this form. Goku says that sure, he could transform into a Super Saiyan God or Super Saiyan Blue, but he wants to take full advantage of this sparring session by not just training Broly, but by also training himself with a form that he rarely uses in a situation that is very dangerous. But before the two can keep talking, Broly catches them off guard by rapidly dashing towards them, kneeing Vegeta in the gut and grabbing Goku by the face. As Goku struggles to push Broly off him, Vegeta is sent flying through the air, smashing through several rock pillars with such speed that he even passes above Chilai while she's running away. She notices that he's headed towards one of those green craters nearby, so she quickly dashes over to help him. And back with Goku and Broly, Goku is struggling to free himself from Broly's grasp with his entire face smashed into the palm of his hand, making it hard to breathe. Thanks to transforming into his Ikari state, the Big Saiyan had grown even bigger than before, so now he was able to hold Goku in the air with his feet dangling off the ground, similarly to how the original Z version of Broly held Goku in Movie 8. This time, however, Goku was able to kick his feet forward, placing the bottom of them on Broly's stomach. Looking down, Broly notices that the bottoms of Goku's feet begin to glow blue, and before he has time to react, Goku manages to fire out the feet Kamehameha to break free from Broly's grasp. Not only that, but Goku kept on using the feet Kamehameha to push himself away from Broly at such an astounding speed just to gain some distance from him before breaking it off into a normal flight just to get away. Broly smirks and begins rushing after Goku, not realizing that he was being led farther away from both Chilai and Vegeta. Meanwhile, Chilai eventually makes it to that green crater that Vegeta landed in and shouted out to him, who was laying on his back in pain. Slowly sitting up and holding his gut, Vegeta starts rubbing his hand on the ground beneath him, wondering why there's grass growing on a planet like Vampa. He then overhears Chilai shouting out towards him, saying that he needs to get off the green crater because it's not grass, it's a creature. Widening his eyes, Vegeta begins to feel the ground beneath him shake, which forces him to jump into the air and float above the crater as a gigantic Vampa beast erupts into the sky after him. The beast lunged with such speed that he nearly bit Vegeta clean in half, but the Saiyan was able to quickly dodge out of the way and fly down to Chilai before she could be snatched up by the beast. With the two now just out of reach from the beast, Chilai tells Vegeta that it might not be too late for them to calm Broly down, they just need to try and stop the fight between him and Goku before he loses himself completely. Meanwhile, the battle between Goku and Broly continues to heat up as the two Saiyans rapidly fly across the Vampa sky, firing enough ki blasts back and forth at each other that it looks like a dozen fireworks are going off in the sky all at once. Occasionally, the two are forced to move around the landscape, flying in and out of caves, around rock pillars, and dodging several Vampa beasts that lunge upwards toward them, trying to snatch them out of the sky. Goku grits his teeth, realizing that no matter what, he can't shake Broly because despite him being much bigger, his speed is incredible, and sooner or later, he'll eventually catch up to him. Taking action before that could happen, Goku suddenly stops mid-air and swings his leg around just in time to clothesline Broly. Unable to stop in time, the momentum that Broly gained during his rapid flight pushes him forward, and Goku's kick connects right into his throat, flipping him backwards and sending him spiraling down towards the ground below. Instantly, Broly connects with the ground with a giant thud, and a ton of debris and dust fills the air around him. A giant crater forms around him, and for a moment, it looked like he was down for the count, but Goku knew that Broly wouldn't go down so easily, so he slowly began to float down toward the crater, hearing nothing but the sound of tumbling rocks as gravity pulled them down farther into the crater. Through the dust, Goku could see a slight shimmering green light emanating from where Broly landed, so he began squinting to try and get a better look through all the smoke, but all he could see were a bunch of randomly jittering green sparks, nothing else. Instantly, Broly begins screaming louder than ever before, and a pillar of green light erupts from the crater toward the sky. The pillar of green light began blinding Goku, forcing him to block his eyes, and he struggles to stay in place as a massive gust of wind blasted into him. Across the planet, Vegeta and Chilai noticed that the sky had gotten slightly darker than before, and in the distance, they could see that same green pillar of light blasting into the sky, the clouds around it circling rapidly. The two of them were too late. Broly had lost control. Once the pillar of light faded, Goku looked back down towards the bottom of the crater, noticing that at the base of it all, Broly was glaring up at him. He was no longer in his Ikari form, but instead, he had fully lost control of himself and was once again in that green-haired, bulked-up Super Saiyan form. The pupils in his eyes had fully disappeared. Before Goku could even react, Broly's body rapidly vanished and reappeared in the sky in front of Goku, his arm pulled back ready to throw a punch. Throwing up his arms to block, Goku tried copying one of Android 17's abilities by forming a blue barrier of ki around him, but it wasn't enough to stop Broly, who smashed through the barrier like glass and punched right into Goku's forearms, sending him crash landing downward. Flipping through the air, Goku had a split-second thought that maybe he should transform and actually take this seriously, but once he landed on his feet, he barely had enough time to react as Broly aggressively charged him, following through with several more heavy-hitting attacks. Goku did his best to dodge all of Broly's attacks, even countering with some of his own punches and kicks, but they didn't do much against Broly's tough exterior. All Goku could do was try and wear Broly down and find an opening. Vegeta and Chilai, now arriving on the battlefield, noticed that Broly has fully lost control, and there was nothing they could do but fight back and knock him out before he destroys the entire planet. Chilai begins begging Vegeta to head down there and help Goku, saying that the two of them could fuse like they did last time and stop the battle before he gets stronger. But Vegeta silently ignores her. Tuning Chilai out, Vegeta watches Goku rapidly bounce around Broly, who aggressively charges towards the smaller Saiyan, lashing out and throwing nothing but earth-shattering punches every chance he got. If Goku wasn't so graceful with his dodging, he'd have been turned to paste by now. Annoyed that Vegeta keeps ignoring her, Chilai starts shaking him to try and get his attention, and once again, she asks Vegeta why he's just standing around, to which he replies that he's not going to intervene because he doesn't need to. Goku is still training him. Confused by this, Chilai asks him what he means, causing Vegeta to point down towards the two of them as Broly slams a fist down right next to Goku, cracking the ground below and shaking the entire planet. Vegeta notes that Goku had been in his Super Saiyan 3 form all this time, and if he really wanted to end the fight, or at least have a better chance at fighting back, he would have already transformed into one of the God forms by now, or even Ultra Instinct. The truth is, it takes a split second for Goku to transform into something else, and if he really wanted to end the fight, he could, but he doesn't want this fight to end. He wants to keep it going for as long as possible for not just his own sake, but for Broly's sake, because they're both being benefited by using the forms that they're in. Chilai asks him what he means, and Vegeta responds that not only are the two of them having the time of their lives out there because they're both Saiyans and love fighting, but by using those unreliable and unmastered forms in combat, they're essentially training their bodies to get used to them. For Goku, Super Saiyan 3 is a very inefficient form to use in battle because it consumes a lot of energy, and it's also a form that he hasn't had much time getting used to, at least not with his living body. When he used the form a lot throughout the Buu saga, he could handle the strain because his body was dead. So now that he's living, and much stronger than he was back in the Buu saga, he's using this fight with Broly as a prime opportunity to get used to the form, and hey, maybe he could tie up some loose ends by mastering this form. For Broly, even though his green-haired form is insanely powerful, it's seen as unreliable because he's unable to control it, not a single bit. Broly in general shows a lack of control when it comes to fighting, but it's made especially clear that whenever he transforms into this green-haired form, all bets are off and he's out to attack anything and everything that gets in his way. By being in this form now, his body is getting used to the form just like how Goku is training himself to get used to Super Saiyan 3, so that's why Goku is trying to keep the fight going for as long as possible and not trying to end it. He's wanting Broly to try and find a way to control himself with this form, or at least he's wanting him to be more exposed to it. Meanwhile, the fight between Goku and Broly continues for quite some time, both of them noticeably getting more tired as Broly relentlessly throws punches, kicks, and random barrages of ki blasts and energy beams at Goku in an attempt to strike him down. Eventually, after dodging and blocking for what felt like hours, Goku loses steam completely and lets one of Broly's attacks smack him clean in the gut, knocking the wind out of him and sending him flying into a nearby rock, seemingly knocking him out from exhaustion. Vegeta and Chilai watch as Goku reverts back into his base form. Clenching his fists, Vegeta prepares to transform and take on Broly by himself, but before he can, Broly lunges forward towards the unconscious Goku and lifts his foot into the air to slam it down into his chest. Just before Broly's foot can connect, Goku rapidly opens his eyes and reveals that his pupils have turned silver, and a pillar of white light shoots out from his body towards the sky, engulfing the two of them in a pillar of white light. Inside the Pillar of Light, rapid punches attack Broly from all sides, sending him stumbling around with no idea where they came from. He blindly throws his fists around trying to hit something, but the bright light is way too blinding. The only thing that he can see is a white void all around him. But then, the Pillar of Light fades and his vision is quickly restored. In front of him, a seemingly fully recovered Goku stands tall, glaring up at the hulking Broly with an emotionless face. The two Saiyans stand inches apart, their eyes locked, and neither of them attempting to make the first move. Broly tilts his head in curiosity over Goku's newest transformation, because up until now, he's never seen Goku with silver hair. At least, not when it comes to a full-on transformation. He remembers seeing a slight glimpse of silver hair when Goku transformed into a Super Saiyan Blue, but now that Goku is standing in front of him in his perfected Ultra Instinct state, this is something he's never seen before. Before Broly can even get the chance to think about throwing a punch, Goku thrusts his hand forward and performs the Godbind technique, freezing Broly in place just like he did back on Earth. Remembering that Goku had done this to him before, Broly grits his teeth and starts to get angrier, but for some reason, he can't break through this technique this time around. Broly glares at the emotionless Goku, who slowly brings his hands closer together, making the Godbind tighter around Broly, who continues to try and break free. Suddenly, more rapid punches and kicks start to attack Broly from all sides, smacking into his face, his chest, his sides. Every square inch of his body was being attacked all at once, and it was starting to hurt him. But as Broly looked around, there was nobody there. All of these attacks were invisible. It was actually Goku who was attacking him, using the Godbind technique to keep Broly frozen, and he was also able to still move freely around and attack him at will thanks to the speed of Ultra Instinct. It didn't take much longer for Broly screaming to stop and his aura to completely disappear. He had finally worn himself out. Goku watched as Broly reverted back into his base form, his muscles shrinked down at a rapid pace, and his green hair turned back to its regular black color. Goku stopped his onslaught of attacks and broke the Godbind technique, letting Broly fall down to his knees. Goku then reverted back into his own base form, bent down, and lifted Broly up with one of his arms around his shoulders. He laughed and thanked Broly for the amazing fight. He really felt like he was pushed into a corner towards the end there, and Broly quietly responded with a soft smile, amazed at all these new transformations that Goku showed off, ones that he didn't show off back on Earth. Vegeta and Chilai then rushed over to join them, with Chilai jumping over to Broly's side to give him one of those senzu beans that Goku had given her during his first visit to Vampa. Goku was surprised that she even remembered to bring them along with her, since he usually forgets them every now and then, but Chilai admits that she always keeps them on her just in case. She even joked by saying that Goku might have needed it more than Broly, causing Goku to laugh. But Vegeta quickly shuts the two of them down, saying that they need to get serious and realize that Broly has improved drastically since their fight on Earth. If he keeps getting stronger without keeping his anger in check, he'll end up being way too difficult to defeat, even with all their new transformations, and just like Frieza, he'll become another threat. Goku agrees, saying that Broly still has a way to go until he's able to master his power, but he then brings up the idea that if Broly can control himself, he's got that potential to defeat Frieza once and for all. Hearing Frieza's name once again reminded Chilai about their predicament that got them into this entire mess in the first place. The Frieza Force now knows that she, Broly, and Lemmo have been living on planet Vampa, and by now, Maki and Oil could have told Frieza about them. So she starts asking the two Saiyans if they know of any other hidden planets that might keep them safe from Frieza, who could be arriving on Vampa any minute now. A light bulb goes off in Goku's head, and he says that the three of them could come stay on Beerus' planet for a while because it's so hidden that even Frieza wouldn't know where to find them, and if he ever did, he'd have to deal with Beerus. Surprisingly, Vegeta agrees to the idea of bringing the three of them to Beerus' planet, saying that Broly could actually learn a thing or two from Beerus and Whis, hinting that Broly could potentially unlock God forms like Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue, so then he wouldn't even need to worry about his uncontrollable forms. Goku chuckles, saying that if Broly ever achieved Super Saiyan Blue, he'd definitely be strong, but he doesn't think it's something that Broly needs to do. Instead of going down that path of unlocking God forms, there's a lot more opportunity for Broly to try and learn how to control his anger while training with Beerus and Whis, and maybe if he's able to get a better handling of his powers, he could tap into a new, controlled form similar to what they saw with Kale's controlled Berserk form during the Tournament of Power. Chilai then chimes in saying that both ideas are great, but it's not really up to them to decide what Broly should do with himself, saying that if he wants to train and unlock those God forms, that's up to him, and if he wants to try controlling the green-haired form he has now, that's also his decision. Nobody has any right to tell him what he should or shouldn't do. Goku assures Chilai that no matter what Broly decides to do, he and Vegeta will be there to help him through it because at the end of the day, they're all working together to get stronger. Goku then extends a hand out towards Broly, telling him that he had a blast with their sparring match and asks if he'd ever want to have another. Broly smirks and nods, signifying to Goku that he wants to keep training, and thus, the four of them teleported back to Lemo, picked him up, and headed over to Beerus' planet to continue training. The next time we see them all together is in Dragon Ball Super Superhero, where Broly makes himself at home on Beerus' planet, training as a student underneath Beerus and Whis alongside Goku and Vegeta. Whether or not we'll see Broly control his green-haired transformation one day, or if we see him go down the path of unlocking God forms, we'll just have to wait and see what the future holds. And with that, today's What If story comes to a close. As always, if you guys want me to talk about other What If stories, let me know any suggestions that you might have down in the comments, and also, let me know where you think Broly's character will head in the future of Dragon Ball. Do you want him to unlock God forms, or do you want him to continue down that path of controlling his green-haired form? Leave a comment and let me know. I also want to hear what you guys think about him going up against Frieza if Frieza ever tries to find him again. As always, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video just as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up to show me how much you enjoyed today's content, and while you're at it, subscribe to the channel if you love all things Dragon Ball, and be sure to click that notification bell so you never miss any of my future videos. I'm InnovativeJdawg, and until my next video, I will be seeing all of you Dragon Ball fans later. See ya!